Growing up with video games always tends to present its own challenges. Sometimes there are games too complex or too difficult for young minds to master. Other times, maybe you ran into a game that was just so terrifying that it scared you out of playing it. To this, you had a few choices. You could either call upon a family member to finish it for you, or to quell your rising anxiety, you could just shut off the game. And that's what we're going to talk about here today on Game & Browse. Welcome to Conquering 6 Games That Scared Us as Kids.
Why 6 games, you may ask? Well, that's simply because 10 is too many and 5 isn't enough. So we're going to be covering 3 games from my childhood and 3 games from Aaron's childhood. Now, this isn't ripping straight into Silent Hill or Resident Evil or any of those other legendary horror games. These are just everyday games that presented some really challenging moments for us, either as small kids or as adolescents.
Without further ado, let's get started. Number 6. One of the greatest animated films of all time, Toy Story had a rather solid pair of games released for the SNES and Sega Genesis. Toy Story is known for being very sharp graphically, having come out later on in the console's lives. Thus, the game looks really good for being on 16-bit hardware. Toy Story is also known for being unforgiving with its difficulty, in traditional 90s Disney fashion, of course. If you grew up with this game, you know exactly what moment I'll be talking about, the Nightmare Buzz level. The concept for this level is partially based around a deleted scene from the movie, which explains why there doesn't really exist a movie counterpart for this level. On to the level itself, the player starts out as Woody in a dark room, when all of a sudden Buzz Lightyear's voice comes in.
You don't want to be in the way when my laser goes off.
As a grim warning of what to expect. The Nightmare Buzz himself fades in, larger than normal, with an eerie green underlight to him that helps add to the sinister atmosphere. In the background, a fast, tense music piece starts and the battle begins. Lightyear's only attack is a laser, and he deals bodily damage if you run into him or into the orbs that surround him. Once you break the orbs down, however, you can begin laying into Nightmare Buzz when he turns vulnerable during his teleportation phases. As a kid, this fight wasn't tough, but it really unsettled me with its eerie design and music. Buzz is also supposed to be a hero, even as the initial rival to Woody. He wasn't ever evil, like this section kind of alluded to, and as a result, I never really liked playing this level. Coming back to this part of the game as an adult, Nightmare Buzz was still a cinch, and I rather enjoyed this part of the game. This section is definitely still a bit too easy, especially considering that the next level is a horrible driving mission, which serves as the game's first real difficulty spike. Maybe one day I'll come back and play more, but consider this one conquered and in the bag.
Number 5. Okay, so Sonic the Hedgehog, for sure, but obviously not the games themselves. Sonic is one of my all-time favorite characters, so how could I be scared of one of my top-tier franchises? I mean, there's like nothing scary about these games. They're colorful, fast, exciting, and full of great animal hybrid characters. Seriously, what could possibly be so scary about Sonic that it's made its way onto this countdown? Well, it's a particular facet of the game that rears its ugly head in almost every installment of the franchise: drowning, and the stressful, anxiety-inducing countdown theme that plays as Sonic or any of the characters struggle for breath underwater. I remember that drowning in any Sonic game, be it drowning in 2D or in 3D, was so stressful to me as a kid. That countdown theme, whether it be in 16-bit on the Genesis, (32-bit on the GBA, or with full orchestral backing in the Dreamcast version. It'll be forever ingrained into my brain. The drowning theme in Sonic Adventure specifically is very dramatic and jarring. Seriously, hearing this theme gives me a bit of PTSD, even into my adulthood. When I'm in water in any Sonic game, I am always looking for air bubbles right away in order to prolong my time underwater without hearing that terrible countdown theme. So spot number 5 for me goes to the underwater countdown theme in the Sonic the Hedgehog games.
Number 4. This is technically one that can't really be conquered, but it can be prevented with good planning and budgeting. Welcome to The Sims, the classic game by Maxis that almost everyone in the 90s who had a PC was obligated to own. It's perfect for escapism, and the player ends up cultivating an interest in watching their fictitious family eventually go on to be more successful than their own. Ouch. Alright, but all kidding aside, not everything is bright and sunny in The Sims. Sometimes things can get downright grim and very real with this game. The two moments that haunted me as a kid are also coincidentally things that would scare a person in real life as well. House fires and robberies. The game has a dramatic way of portraying both events. Sometimes you would wrap up your stressful day of floor pizza and leaky toilets, only to go to sleep and have tragedy strike. When your sim goes to sleep, the game skips into fast forward mode, but sometimes in the middle of the night, it goes right back into normal play mode and you're greeted with a harrowing jingle that signifies there's a burglar coming onto your property. Unfortunately, you're forced to sit back and watch the burglar pilfer your hard-earned goodies right before your very eyes. But tough crap. No more cartoons for you anymore. Guess you should have bought that home security kit instead. The equally as frightening house fire jingle is nothing to trifle with either. If your cooking skill is low, this is likely to be a common occurrence in your Sim's house. It's the one reason that cooking was always the first skill I leveled up when I was playing as a kid. Otherwise, I just focused on using the microwave because of how scary the cooking RNG nightmare disaster ended up being. Also, good luck calling the fire department since you decided to sell all the phones and the doors for that high-end TV system instead of a smoke alarm. All in all, the fear and stress of those instrumental themes can't be understated. Even as an adult, if you're playing The Sims in the middle of the night with the lights out and you hear that burglar noise, chances are you'll be checking around your real house too. Just to be sure.
Number 3. So, I have a funny story about my pick for game number 3. My dad has always been a computer guy, and growing up, we regularly played a bunch of the essential PC games of the 1990s, like Warcraft, Age of Empires, and Diablo. These things were our bread and butter. I remember watching my dad play these games growing up, so I, of course, had an interest in them as well. Now, keep in mind, I wouldn't have been more than 4 or 5 years old when this happened. So one day, my dad asked me,
"Do you want to try, Helen?"
And like any small kid, of course I wanted to play Dad's computer games. So Dad decided to let me play Diablo 1, which was what we had at the time. He set me up as a warrior, gave me a sword to use, and I should have totally been ready to slay, right? Well, Dad put me in the first dungeon of the first world, and as soon as the skeletons started coming out, I, being a small child, panicked, froze up, and cried,
"No, Dad, no!"
And I refused to play the game afterwards. I guess those tiny little skeleton sprites were just too much for me in my little kiddie mind. Eventually, of course, I overcame this fear with age, and I ended up spending a ton of time on Diablo 2 in middle school, which to this day is probably my favorite PC game. So I guess Diablo should have one of those parental advisory labels on it or something, because according to my dad, this game was just too much for me.
Actually, it does. It's rated M.
Right you are, Harry.
Whatever, spot number 3 still goes to the skeletons in Diablo 1.
Number 2. My final game moment was one that was definitely so petrifying, I had to resort to having my cousin beat it for me. Star Fox 64. Specifically, the game's big bad intergalactic space ape, Andross. Andross's final boss form scared me so much as a kid, I dropped the controller and ran. A giant disembodied head constantly up in your face with rough texturing and hard polygons made him even more intimidating. Andross will slap you around, try to eat you, and worst of all, he had this intimidating, deep, synthetic-sounding voice that was always mocking and threatening you.
"I've been waiting for you, Star Fox."
He killed Fox's father, and now he's out to get you too. This was pretty aggressive for bad guy behavior in a Nintendo game. The death of a character wasn't something you encountered very often in many Nintendo franchises, outside of The Legend of Zelda, of course. This iteration of Andross is a classic. He's appeared as a floating head in Star Fox for SNES, Star Fox Adventures, and Star Fox Zero, but the 64 incarnation is the first one I ever saw as a kid, and it has always stuck with me ever since. Andross might be even more terrifying if you manage to fight his alternate form, in which he appears as a giant chattering robot head instead. If you unlock Andross's true ending, the fight turns into a trippy but still creepy fight against Andross's floating brain and eyes. As far as conquering Andross, the fight is alright, all things considered. I dislike the all-range mode with the brain, but by this point in the game, I was just tired and ready to get it over with. You see, I had just shotgunned the entire game in one night, and I had just come off a previous battle with Starwolf, where I got stomped so many times it felt like an Irish jig. Completing Star Fox 64 was such a chore that seeing the terrifying monkey at the end of the game just didn't have the same effect on me that it did when I was a kid. So let's go ahead and just mark this one as conquered, but with an angry face.
Number 1. Now this last game is quite a trip. I first mentioned this game to Aaron when we were in the planning stages of this episode, and he hadn't even heard of it. So I made him look it up, and my childhood fears were absolutely validated. Enter Sinistar. On first inspection, Sinistar just looks like another space shooting arcade game of the 1980s. Flying a starship, going pew 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 at space objects when out of nowhere,
I am Sinistar.
that scream. Instant panic. That was the voice of Sinistar, the titular character in this 1982 arcade game by Williams. That scream is just the beginning. Let us count the ways that Sinistar terrified me as a child. Screams aside, Sinistar looks terrifying. I mean, that is a face only a mother could love. It straight up looks demonic and super menacing. Yikes. Plus, the game makes quite a ruckus at just about all times, giving the player a total sensory overload. Here's a sample of some of the sound bites from one game of Sinistar.
I hunger.
Noise and imagery aside, Aaron mentioned earlier how music and sound effects can really make or break just how scary a game is. Well, Sinistar likes to talk to you throughout the game, warning you with his commands like,
Beware, I live. Run, coward. Run, run, run.
as he chases you around the pitch-black space background. Ugh, pure anxiety. And by the way, if Sinistar ends up catching you, it's game over. Yup, instant death. Anyway, to defeat this object of my nightmares, the goal is to shoot enemy ships while collecting the crystals that come out of space meteors. Collecting crystals is an absolute must, because these crystals can be turned into Cinnabons. No, not those. Cinnabombs. And they are the only way to defeat Sinistar. If you can manage to collect enough Cinnabombs and hit Sinistar with 5 of them, his awful face will blow up, and congratulations, on to Dante's next circle of hell, i.e. the next level. So, yeah, that's Sinistar, my pick for the #1 most terrifying game I had as a child. Side note, before we leave, one of the jeers that Sinistar uses to taunt the player is,
Run, coward.
well, as a kid, with the unclear, compressed voiceover, my childlike ears and brain heard, Run, Howard, which made me think that the little ship you play as, yep, his name was Howard. Run, Howard! I mean, that made sense, right? Right? Oh well, at least I didn't hear Ron Howard like so many other Sinistar players did. Hey, thanks for being with us today and listening to us vent about the games that scared us as kids. Let us know in the comments section below if you shared any of our childhood gaming fears, or if you have your own that you'd like to share.
As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please drop us a like or subscribe to the channel. See you next time here on Game & Browse.
Bye!